whether man-made or not, one of the worst disasters in human history. And we are genuinely less prepared for the next one than the last one.
It's not one of the worst disasters in human history. I could name 100 worse ones.
Fair enough, but it was bad. I didn't enjoy it.
But I mean,
it was,
let's not be purple.
It wasn't bad.
Anthony Fauci. Now, remember that name. There's a reason he was given a pardon back to 2014. There is something very wrong going on here.
You know? Yeah, I also don't think he did it for nefarious reasons. There's an argument to be made.
BillMaher strongly criticized woke ideas on his show, and his latest target was New York columnist Ezra Klein. Klein came on the show thinking he could handle the debate, but that turned out to be a big mistake. Maher didn't just argue with him, he completely shut him down with clear facts. It was a tough debate, and by the end, Klein had no choice but to back down, looking like he had just lost to reality itself. So, what exactly happened in this debate, and how did people online react to Klein's awkward performance? Let's find out.
March 2020. There's a new book out called COVID's Wake. I was reading it this last couple of weeks, and the core paper that killed off any idea that this was a lab leak in China, the proximal origin paper, which was produced with Fauci and Collins of the NIH and NIAID helping it along, was a lie, a conscious lie. That the people who looked at it, we now have their emails, are saying in the very first days of looking at the virus, this looks very man-made to us. This is so friggin' obvious this is man-made. Well, so friggin' obvious, one of them said. And then they wrote the report saying there is no evidence that this was made in a lab. The question is why? Why would they lie to us about that?
The show started with a big question. Where did COVID-19 really come from? Right away, Andrew Sullivan didn't hold back. He was fired up, accusing officials of knowing about the lab leak but hiding the truth. Why? Because admitting it didn't fit their agenda. Instead, they pushed a convenient story called Proximal Origin, blaming everything except the lab, bats, wet markets, or just random chance. But here's the shocking part. Sullivan wasn't just upset. He was furious. You could see it on his face. He believed they misled the public for years, and now the truth is finally coming out. According to him, this is a classic tactic: hide the truth, trick the public, and when the damage is done, just say, "Oops, our bad." But now the cover-up is falling apart, and the people who pushed it are scrambling to fix the mess. The lies are being exposed, and there's nowhere left to hide.
As much as for the scientists who went along with this, knowing better. It's their integrity I'm concerned about, to actually lie and distort what they could see with their own eyes because they were afraid of politics. The other question is this. This lab was a gain-of-function lab. That means they were creating viruses, dangerous viruses, to figure out how to protect you from them. This gain-of-function research was always dangerous. Everyone knew it was dangerous. A long time ago, you go back to 2015, you will find a big meeting in London where they say there's one lab in the world most likely to have a problem with this: Wuhan. Do you know who was the biggest supporter of gain-of-function research for the last 30 years? Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci. Now, remember that name. There's a reason he was given a pardon back to 2014. There is something very wrong going on.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. Mind-blowing stuff. So let's get this straight. Doctor, Anthony Fauci knew about the risky virus experiments at the Wuhan lab as early as 2015. Yet, he still pushed the idea that COVID-19 definitely wasn't a lab leak. I remember it clearly. Every news outlet was treating Fauci like a hero, calling him the voice of science. But behind the scenes, it was all a cover-up. The truth was hidden, and guess who helped? The Democrats. And here's where it gets even sketchier. Fauci's pardon was conveniently backdated to 2014. That means they were protecting him before anyone even started asking questions. This wasn't just a mistake, it was planned. Despite all this, some people still defend him. For years, they called anyone questioning the lab leak theory a conspiracy theorist. But now, the truth is finally coming out, and they have nowhere left to hide.
I don't think he did it for nefarious reasons. There's an argument to be made. There's an actual intellectual debate to be had. Should gain-of-function research be done? We want to get ahead of viruses. The other answer is, the other response would be, it's too dangerous. Because if it gets out, it's going to be bad. And that's what happened. But I don't think he's an evil guy,
No, I think
like some
that-
people do, who was trying to get rich off this.
No.
Okay, he just made the wrong call.
No, he knew from the get-go that the Wuhan lab had security levels that were the average of a dentist's office. They should have been at the highest level imaginable. He knew that. Not only that,
He made the wrong call.
The NIH and NID had helped fund.
And this is where I have to completely disagree with BillMaher. Fauci didn't just make a bad call. This was beyond incompetence. This wasn't some small mistake. It was massive negligence on a global scale. Are we really supposed to believe that securing a high-risk lab doing gain-of-function research just slipped Fauci's mind? Come on, Bill. We're talking about a lab handling engineered viruses, basically bioweapons-level research, and the so-called expert in charge didn't think security was important? Give me a break. Now, whether Fauci had financial interests in all of this is another debate, but one thing is clear. During the pandemic, he was everywhere. The media adored him, the left treated him like a hero, and yet, when everything settled, what did we find? Lie after lie after lie. One thing is not up for debate. Fauci's dishonesty is undeniable. He wasn't just wrong, he was reckless, misleading, and completely unaccountable. And now, the same people who once worshipped him are scrambling to rewrite history.
So you don't want to go down in history as the person who helped develop the virus that killed millions of people. You want to go down as the one who saved millions of people. That was at stake, a reputational matter.
Exactly. With everything we now know about COVID-19, Doctor, Fauci won't be remembered as a hero. He'll be known as the man who risked millions of lives not because of an honest mistake, but because of arrogance, incompetence, and deception. For years, he was paraded as America's savior, the so-called man of science. But behind the scenes, he ignored warnings, dismissed real concerns, and helped cover up the truth at the cost of human lives. And when the truth started coming out, what did he do? He dodged, deflected, and denied. Classic Fauci. Let's not forget, this is the same guy who pushed unscientific mandates while ignoring actual science when it didn't fit his agenda. He shut down anyone who asked real questions, calling them conspiracy theorists. And now, as the truth comes crashing down, the same people who once praised him are desperately trying to rewrite history. But it's too late. The facts are out. Fauci's legacy won't be one of a hero, but of a bureaucrat who played God and failed spectacularly.
It seems insane to me, is we are now years after, whether man-made or not, one of the worst disasters in human history. And we are genuinely less prepared for the next one than the last one.
It's not one of the worst disasters in human history. I could name 100 worse ones.
Fair enough, but it was bad. I didn't enjoy it.
Let's not be purple.
It was a bad.
COVID-19 itself wasn't the worst pandemic in history, but the way governments responded to it was a complete disaster. Lockdowns, mandates, forced vaccinations, none of it was truly necessary to control the virus. Yet instead of using common sense, leaders doubled down, crushing economies, shutting down businesses, and stripping millions of their basic freedoms. And the worst part? They knew it. The data was there, the science was clear, but they ignored it. Instead of protecting people, they followed power-hungry bureaucrats and greedy pharmaceutical executives who saw a golden opportunity. They silenced doctors, censored anyone who disagreed, and manipulated the public into compliance. And for what? Not public health, but control. Make no mistake, this wasn't just a bad response. It was one of the most reckless abuses of power in modern history. And now, as the truth comes out, the same people who locked us down want us to forget. Not a chance. We remember. And history won't be kind to those who sold fear for profit.
Run an HHS. On the other hand, a bunch of huge mistakes were made on things like lockdowns, and we're just arguing about them. We haven't put out, say, a new best practices, right? Gain-of-function research, which y'all were just talking about. It is just an argument. It's something I try to keep paying attention to, and they haven't come out with strong new guidelines. Bird flu, everybody I read who knows what they're talking about says we are in a terrible position on bird flu if it actually begins to mutate and make the jump. We just have never figured out a way to find a policy equilibrium here, as opposed to sort of keep rehabbing the argument. The arguments are important.
Because everything gets politicized.
But everything gets
Politicizing everything is what got us into this mess in the first place. And if you ask me which side is obsessed with turning every issue into a political battlefield, easy, the woke left. To them, everything is about politics. Party politics? Check. Identity politics? Double check. Race, gender, climate, even basic biology, hijacked and weaponized to fit their endless narrative. Nothing is off limits. Nothing can just be about logic, facts, or common sense. It always has to serve their ideological agenda. Take a global crisis, for example. A normal person sees a health emergency that needs quick, practical solutions. The woke left? They see an opportunity, an excuse to grab more power, silence opposition, and push their radical ideas under the guise of saving lives. And if you dare to question them, you're labeled a racist, a conspiracy theorist, or worse, canceled. This was never about public good. It was always about control. They don't just politicize everything, they weaponize it. And until people wake up, they'll keep doing it.
We don't have the capacity to come to agreement. It's really bad that we're this unprepared now.
But that's why the integrity of science is so important.
I agree with you.
If we don't trust the scientists, who on earth are we going to trust?
Of course we should trust science, but not when it's twisted to push a political agenda. Science should be about facts, evidence, and discovery, not a tool for the powerful to manipulate and control. Yet time and time again, we've seen so-called experts distort the truth to fit a narrative instead of reality. Take COVID-19, for example. The lab leak theory? First dismissed as a conspiracy, until it wasn't. Lockdowns and mandates? Sold as following the science, yet they destroyed economies while doing little to stop the virus. And it doesn't stop there. Climate change alarmism is another perfect example. Every natural disaster is blamed on climate change, with doomsday predictions that never come true. It's not about solving real environmental issues. It's about pushing green policies that make the elites richer while regular people struggle. Or how about gender ideology? Suddenly, we're told that basic biology is a social construct, and questioning it makes you anti-science. Schools push radical gender theories on kids while shutting down anyone who disagrees, all in the name of progress. Science is meant to seek the truth, but when it's hijacked for politics, it stops being science. And we're not falling for it. At the end of the day, science should serve truth, not agendas. Whether it's COVID lies, climate fear-mongering, or radical gender ideology, twisting facts for power destroys credibility. The woke mob may rewrite narratives, but facts don't change, and we'll keep calling out their deception. That wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, give us a like and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.